Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you were just tuning in, we just finished talking about the groundbreaking news, the settlement between the NCAA in the House versus NCAA case. It's going to completely change the future of college sports. We also talked a little bit about the Celtics Pacers game in segment 1. In segment 3 here, we are going to move off of both of those sports and subjects and move on to the ice. There was a double overtime game, the second straight double overtime game involving the Dallas Stars. They just made it past in Game 7 there, and now we are here in Game 1. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net, leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you have a burning question about sports, go ahead and leave it in the comments in a in a in the comments. We'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. But like I was saying, we are going to get into the NHL double overtime game between the Stars and Oilers in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, and it was an incredible game. As Kelsey was saying, yes, Connor McDavid was the hero in double overtime. He almost had one in the first overtime period, but was stopped by Jake Ottinger on one of the greatest saves that I've seen in a very long time. Stick save with a wide open net. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl power the Oilers past the Stars, as this is what we want this series to be, right? We had the offensive firepower of the Oilers rear their head. And what really impressed me in this game, more than what we know they're good at, which is offense, was their defensive ability. The Stars team is nothing to scoff at. They have been one of the, best and most in top to bottom deepest teams in the entirety of the NHL for this entire season, and they've only gotten deeper as the season goes. Trading for Chris Tanev, having the appearance of Wyatt Johnson, the emergence of him, I should say, and everything is just coming up stars. It seems all their young guys are developing right now. But the Oilers defensively really has been their weakness. They've swapped between goaltenders pretty recently. Stuart Skinner came in and played incredible in this game. Their defense, like I said, in Game 7 against the Canucks, they were able to stop the Canucks from getting shots on net for almost 3/4 of that entire game. They didn't really start getting shots on net until about 10 minutes to go in that third period, when they were already down 3 at that point. And when you're going against a team with the offensive firepower of the Oilers, that's not going to get the job done. The Stars kind of were in the same boat. Now they have a much better offense. They have much better defense than the Canucks do, and they have their starting goalie in there as well. So that gives them points, keeps them in it. But if the Oilers defense can continue to play like they have been, and if Stuart Skinner continues to play the way he has been in these last couple games, they're going to be a tough out. And that's really what's been the missing piece for the Oilers. They have now, they've always had the offensive. They've always had the offense. They've had Connor McDavid, who you can, if he keeps his pace up, you can make the argument to put him in some conversations with a guy like Wayne Gretzky, which is insane to think about, and Leon Draisaitl, who's a sniper among snipers. It's it'd be very, very it's very tough to stop and shut down that offense. They are definitely the best offense left in this Stanley Cup playoffs right now. But you're going up against the best defense in the Stanley Cup Finals, so it's in the playoffs right now, and this series is going to be a tough series for both of these teams. And in general, my philosophy in hockey goes, hey, we go with the goalie, and that would favor the Stars and their defense. But when you have an offense, the best versus best in this situation, it's going to be really tight. And like I was saying, if the Oilers can continue to play their defense the way they have, even just even just they don't even need to play great defense. They just need to play above average defense like they've been doing recently. If they can continue to play like this, they're going to be a tough out for anybody because that offense is so good. They just need to be slightly above average on defense. Heading into this series, I had it going 6 games. I had the Stars taking it in 6, but a game like this makes me really rethink a lot of it. I might be a little biased. I'm a big fan of Jake Ottinger. I watched a playoff game of his between the Stars and the Flames a couple years ago, where he stood on his head for about 80 minutes, and they eventually lost that game. But it was the greatest goaltender game I have ever witnessed. So I've got a little bit of fan bias there for the Stars, but this series I think goes 7 now. Now we've seen the Stars start slow in game 1 and 2 against the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round of this series of this Stanley Cup playoffs. They fell down 0-2 against the defending Stanley Cup champion Golden Knights team that is probably the only team in the NHL that could challenge them depth-wise. Now they were a wild card team because they were injured, or you could make an argument they were circumventing the cap by putting their best players on long-term injured reserve. Lots of stuff like that. They went through the same process last year, and they're not the first team to do that. But it's a little shady. The Stars were able to come back in 7 though, so it's not over. I don't wanna get too I don't want to get too fired up on game 1. Recency bias is a dangerous thing in sports media, especially when you're doing a daily show. Being 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 on being in the moment is dangerous. You kind of have to take that back view. I'm still going to stick with the Stars, but I am going to push this out 7, which is exactly what we want in a series like this. A back and forth series. These games could go either way. They're either going to be close like this, and the one thing I'm worried about and why I'm not ready to switch over to the Oilers yet is just because I'm not sure how real the defense is, right? If the defense can continue to play like they did in the last 2 games, I think they're nearly unstoppable. But they have not been able to show that. Now they did have that stretch where they won like 18 straight games. The defense and the goalie were playing great, and maybe they're having another one of those moments. But I can't sit here and count on the Oilers to have a second one of those moments in one calendar year. I mean, they were 1 win away from setting the new record for consecutive wins in the NHL. And again, that happened because, well, they made a coaching switch, and then the defense, they started playing defense again, and they were letting in less than 2 goals per game. I believe there were only 3 games in that run where they let up 3 goals or more. And I mean, if they can do that, they are an unstoppable team. And I want to see Connor McDavid get a cup. If he retires without getting a cup, which is scarily a real possibility with the Edmonton Oilers, it's a travesty. Same thing with, Austin Matthews over there in Toronto. He's also in danger. I mean, they've got plenty of time left, but he's also in danger of not winning a cup just because the Leafs are cursed. But I'm not ready to switch my prediction over yet to the Oilers. But this is a very, yeah, just like Carey Price without a cup. There's all these legends that retire without cups, and it's a shame. It really is. It hurts their legacy. Now these guys are going to be Hall of Famers regardless, but it's nice to look back and stand on the top of that mountain for even just a little bit. So we'll have to see how this plays out. This team with defense is unstoppable. It really is, and it's a scary thought to think about. But it definitely would be deserving. Now we also have to talk about the Eastern Conference. All 4 of these teams can go into unstoppable mode. The Oilers just have that ceiling that is so much higher than anybody else because they have the best player in hockey in Connor McDavid. But if you're looking at a team like the Rangers and the Panthers and the Stars, they all kind of do it the same way. They all have good offense. and great goalies. And if their goalie turns into a brick wall, that's what's going to carry them and make them that unstoppable team. So we'll have to see what wins. It's one offensive minded team versus three defensive minded teams. I definitely think that home ice matters at this point. I mean, it matters more in some places than in others, but if you're watching hockey games and you can feel the energy through the TV, especially in playoff games, especially in Canadian hockey markets. If you were watching Edmonton games, we'll see in game 3 and 4, you can almost feel this. You can feel the energy through the screen. You can feel it at Madison Square Garden. You can feel it in Dallas when they score goals sometimes. The issue with Dallas is sometimes their offense disappears for large stretches of time, and that's a tough look for them. Uh, but we're gonna talk more hockey. Actually, I'm going on to Garrison's show, the hockey podcast here on GSMC Sports Network and GSMC Podcast Network at 9:30 tonight. So if you want to tune in for more hockey talk, go ahead and show up for that. That's where me and TJ and Garrison will be on for the first two segments of that. So I'm excited to talk more hockey there, but we are going to move into some baseball here. There's some new rules. The robot umpires are being tossed around in the MLB. So we'll talk about whether or not that is a good idea coming up next on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.